So my name is Mitchell Lee, and I'm the Director of Franchise Sales with Buddy's Home Furnishings. And I have Jerry with me. Jerry, feel free to introduce yourself.
Jerry Marshall, Buddy's franchisee in Virginia with 6 locations, soon to be 7.
Awesome. So future growth, which is great. Jerry, I want to focus our conversation more towards your background and your experience. You've been in this space for
23 years.
23 years, so a lot of years of experience. How'd you get started into the business or into the industry, and then how did you get into the business of Buddy's?
Okay, so I got into the industry, I was a painter. And
Painting?
Painting, had a painting job and for myself. And I had my resume posted online on a recruiting site, and company called me, Rentway called me and said, hey, you know, we're looking for an MIT, manager in training. And I answered the ad, went to the interview, took the job, and was a jack of all trades, manager in training. And but I really loved the industry. It really brought me out. It gave me an opportunity to grow financially, to grow professionally, and it attracted me to it, and I've been in it ever since. I love relationships, and you know, this industry is relationship driven. You know, the Buddy's, the second part of your question, the Buddy's relationship started in 2016, and that was basically came about based on a prior relationship. Our CEO, I'd worked for him in the past, and I worked for the owner of Buddy's, so to speak.
This is a relationship.
It's a relationship-driven business, and you know, we kind of, you know, stayed in contact and talked through some things. And I was a part of another franchise system, and they came up with an idea. Say, hey, if we can get you out of that system and get you in our system, are you open to it? And it provided me an opportunity to grow right away. And so 2016, we kind of got married up after about an 18-month conversation, and I became a Buddy's franchisee.
So 6 stores in 6 years. How is that even possible?
Well, we brought 2 into the system. We took over 2 of their stores, and then we kind of took 2 stores from an independent earlier this year and converted them to Buddy's. And we are actually, in 2 months, we're going to open up our first store from the ground as a Buddy's franchise.
I would say that if you heard what he said there, it's important to know that you can come into our Buddy system as a new build, as a conversion, as buying a mom and pop, and that's it. You know, that's different in other franchisings and franchising space. So for this specifically, I guess the way to pivot and look at all opportunities. Why is that an advantage for you as a Buddy's franchisee?
It keeps you flexible. It's kind of like what we do day in, day out with operations. You know, it just keeps you flexible. There's not a set way of how you can become a Buddy's franchisee, and there's not a set way of how you're going to grow your business. It kind of opens you up to multiple opportunities to grow your business.
Yep.
And I think, you know, with the way Buddy's has it set up, and they've perfected franchising, I think, in this space, it really sets you up to whether you want to open up a store, you want to move a store into the system, or whether you want to grow one from the ground up. And we're like a prime example of doing all of them.
Yep. And the second part of that, which I'm glad we're leading into, is talking about financing. So when I came onto the team, we had no really finance partners. We had relationships, but there was no systems and processes. So we've really been working the last year on building those relationships. Jerry, as a franchisee, how advantageous is that to you from a financing standpoint, and just diving into that?
Well, I think that's really, really important. You know, I've been through a lot of phases of this business where getting financing, finding money has been difficult. You know, with having, because you have to educate banks on to get them to understand how your business works, and some people like it, some people don't, like they probably will with any financing deal. And with the systems already in place for financing opportunities, so those financiers, they are already educated and understand our space, so it makes it a lot easier to get through funding, which sometimes, you know, my first funding deal took 6 months to get a deal closed, and now we have a deal where you can get funding in 60 days. I mean, that's kind of like unheard of. It's almost like a rent-to-own deal. It's an easy transaction.
It's simplified. It's simplified. Now, something else I did want to talk about is the relationship, right? Because any franchise model says that they have good processes, systems, people, etc. But dive into that. Why do you think Buddy's is different?
Again, the Buddy's people, number one, they've all been here for a long time, which means they're invested in the Buddy system, which means they're invested in us. As operators, they believe in the systems that are in place, and they're there to support you along the way. Each system has its own, proprietor of that system, and they really help you along the way to get through that. Whether it's the IT department, whether it's the purchasing department, even the HR department, supportive in ways with our relationship we have with them. The real estate process is a seamless process. Everything is tried and true, and it's been proven to be successful along the way.
And that's why I love our model, because we are a business in a box. From the time you sign up with me, I take you through the full sales process. Then you have a real estate team that's going to help you through real estate, a development team that's going to help you develop your space and open your store, and then you get into the weeds with operations, marketing, purchasing and supply chain, IT. I say business in a box because our leaders truly lead. We've heard them this morning through our discovery days and others. Talk about our leaders and how good they are as leaders, and following up with you, because if you call, they actually answer.
Correct. So, number one, they're all available as leaders, but I think it starts with Michael Bennett, our CEO. The guy, he's industry tested. He's been through multiple positions. I think he told us yesterday, I didn't even realize this, he started out as a delivery technician as well. So he's kind of worked every position in a store. He's led, a franchise in another system. He's been a vice president of a large company, one of our competitors. He's been as high as a VP for them, but I think he's passionate about what he does, and he kind of leads from the front. He doesn't lead from the back. He's actually, and he will not throw anything on us that hasn't been tested.
We have 40 corporate stores in Florida that we test everything in before it gets passed off to you.
Yes, absolutely. And they're very successful stores.
Yes,
so it helps that they're successful. So what they're trying and what they're testing, before it's rolled out,
true data.
It's been proven.
Yep.
It's been proven.
And one thing that Jerry mentioned that I really want to emphasize here is our leaders. Our leaders in this space average 24 years on our executive team. CEO, real estate director, purchasing director, marketing director, IT director, operations directors, we have 2, average 24 years. Now specifically with our franchise consultants average 23 years in this space. Half of them have owned their own business as well too. Jerry, what's the importance of a franchise consultant in this space?
Man, the franchise consultants are like everything. They're our connection keeps us connected to corporate. They're an extension of the corporate office. They help in making sure that my stores are staying, consistent and on the system that's in place. They're there to help me with support, with training. We've got a couple new people coming through in a couple weeks. I call the franchise consultant, say, hey, I need some help. He's like, when do you need it? All right, I carved out 3 weeks to help you. I don't know anywhere, they'll do that. They're booking their plane tickets on the company's dime, hotels on their dime to come support us. Yep. They're priceless because they help so much with not just Buddy's interests, but also Jerry's interest or the franchisee's interest.
And one thing he mentioned, our franchise consultants are on the road Monday through Friday. They do get the weekends off at their homes with their families, but they're out in the markets working with franchisees directly. Jerry asked for 3 weeks of help. Jerry got 3 weeks of help because he is growing and opening a new store soon. The last piece I'll get to is we've kind of covered the realm for any prospects that are interested of Buddy's. But one thing I always get is fear of collections, right? Yes. Now, although I tell people collections is 3% or less in our business because of our systems, processes, procedures, etc., that's something that takes some time for them to fully understand.
Yes.
If I phrase that question to you, collections scare me, Jerry. Is that going to hold me from the business? Why should I not be scared?
You should be scared because I don't even like to call it collections per se. It's relationship. So the better you build your relationship, if you're going to have a good relationship, I'm going to have good relationships with my managers. I'm going to force my managers or train my managers up to have good relationships with their coworkers. So if you can align yourself internally with that, relationship driven, and teach and model your associates that the better relationships they're building, it's not collections. It's just asking, to fulfill the commitment of, the lease agreement. That's what we
And
live.
everybody has an issue, right? Whether
Yes.
it's a family member has COVID, or you were in the hospital, or you just get behind on a payment. We work through those things, right?
Correct. Yes, we work through those because of the relationship we've built. We want our customers to be upfront, transparent with us. We're going to be upfront and transparent with them, and we're willing, if they're willing to meet us, we're willing to meet them. At the end of the day, we don't exist in our environment without them. So it's not a black and white line in the sand of how that relationship's built. So we're here and willing to help them.
Absolutely. Well, Jerry, thank you for today. Thank
Yes,
you for
sir.
sitting down.
Thank you. Appreciate
Jerry's
you having me.
Absolutely. Jerry's
Yeah.
one of our best franchisees out there, and hopefully y'all learned some things listening to us today.